Hello, my name is Mitchell Deppin, and I will be taking the negative position in this argument. A very noble proposal by my opponents here today, but I have three main problems, not including the privacy argument here. That the federal government is basically saying that they have the right to dictate what our parents should be teaching. But my three main problems I'll be discussing right now is that regulating homeschool will not improve academic performance, parents are qualified to teach their children, and homeschool regulation won't appropriately address child abuse. For my first point in academic performance, regulation has no bearing on academic achievement. From Tim Lambert, the Texas Homeschool Coalition Association, he references the National Home Education Research Institute has published numerous studies that show that when comparing states with onerous regulations, like Pennsylvania, to states like Texas, which have very little regulation, there are virtually no differences in test scores of homeschool students. In other words, there is no evidence to show that government regulation of education results in better test scores for students. Corroborating with this, David Martin, a writer for Al Jazeera America, says, with few regulations, there are no comprehensive studies comparing the academic outcome of homeschooled students to their non-homeschooled peers, but studies have shown that the motivated homeschool students who apply to or go on to attend college do well. Homeschoolers aren't suffering educationally. Their performance speaks for itself. The College Board, which administers the SAT test, says in 2002, the College Board, which administers the SAT test, reported that homeschooled students who took the test scored 71 points higher than the national average. In 2010, a study published by the Journal of College Admission found that homeschooled students at an unnamed medium-sized university in the Midwest earned higher ACT scores, scored higher grade point averages, and graduated at higher rates within 4 years than non-homeschooled students. So why do we need to regulate if homeschooled students, as they are now, regardless of regulation, are doing so well? Parental qualification. A parent's education level has not affected homeschool performance. The National Home Education Research Institute says homeschool students score above average. Homeschool students score above average on achievement tests regardless of their parents' level of formal education or their family's household income. Corroborating with this, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association says most parents in the United States have a high school diploma, 85% according to the U.S. Census Bureau. HSLDA has yet to see research indicating that children of homeschool parents who do not have high school diploma or its equivalent score lower on standardized tests than children of graduates. In fact, the only research of which we are aware shows that they score similarly. Tim Lambert, the Texas Homeschool Coalition Association, says the belief that parents are, this is not just me. I apologize. So moving on to my third point here. Homeschool regulation will not address child abuse appropriately. Regulation does not deter crime. Bethany Mandel, the writer at Culturated.com, states, as any resident of Chicago would tell you, regulations don't stop crime. Despite the strict laws surrounding gun ownership in the city, criminals are undeterred. Unsurprisingly, criminals don't follow the rules when deciding how to go about breaking the law. If someone wants to commit a murder, he'd probably break a gun law in order to do it. The same principle holds true for child abusers. If someone is the kind of parent who would starve, beat, or kill their child, they are also the kind of parent that won't adhere to regulations surrounding homeschool exams. Those exams won't prevent child abuse, but they would ensure that the state has a hand in the education of all its residents. Amy Schertz and Michael Koger at owen.org. Many cases of abuse go unnoticed by public schools. These abused children are in an environment where the teacher sees them every day and is required to report suspected abuse. A tester who sees a homeschooled child once every 2 or 3 years would be very unlikely to notice signs of any child abuse. Bethany Manuel, again, says there are sadly numerous cases where children enrolled in public school are subjected to chronic and vicious abuse by the hands of their parents. Maya Renat, a 12-year-old girl in Queens, is a recent example. Despite dropping 58 pounds and showing up to school dirty and bruised, the abuse she was suffering at the hands of her parents only came light because of an emergency room visit. So to clarify, my three main problems with this legislation are this. Academic performance is not affected by the regulation of homeschool. Parents are qualified to teach their kids, and homeschool regulation will appropriately address child abuse. Thank you.